our economy is going to have a very difficult time continuing past, say, the next 12, 18 months maximum. I'm going to say maximum. Just because if the food prices rise, people just don't spend money in the other parts of the economy. They just spend money on food.
Adapt 2030 Mini Ice Age Conversations covers changes in our climate due to a new and intensifying grand solar minimum. In the media, overlooking, downplaying, or burying cold weather changes occurring on our planet. This is in order to keep the global warming agenda steaming full speed ahead. I do this podcast and radio program because we need to begin conversations on how to adapt our food growing strategies long before 2030 as agricultural zones shift, affecting global crop output, but very few mainstream media outlets are talking about the most important issue of our time, cold weather crop losses. Our sun is going through a 400-year cycle, which has effects on our weather patterns as our magnetosphere weakens and the jet streams go out of flow. It's not CO2, it's not you, it's the sun. Are you ready to thrive in the grand solar minimum? Then join me for Mini Ice Age Conversations. I'm your host, David DuByne.
This is inconvenient information to the max right here. Now, the thing about the University of Alabama Huntsville version 6.0, so they were saying that these satellite temperatures were unusable because they weren't peer-reviewed. And so this is the way they were trying to discredit Dr. Roy Spencer last year was they're saying that version 5.0, 5.6, 4.6, 4.3, these are some of the older versions of the satellite temperature data sets that they were running that the global media was coming out, the corporate media was saying, well, you can't use that's not even peer-reviewed. That's just garbage science. You're not even peer-reviewed, and you're trying to give us all these Well, he was showing that the global temperatures are dropping comparatively to what, Real Climate Analyzer are. That's the hottest temperatures on the web. If you want to write an article and you want to get the warmest temperatures globally that you can possibly get off of any data set, go to Real Climate Analyzer. They're also known as Climate Reanalyzer. You can find that one pretty easy. That's the one the Washington Post loves to use when they talk about global warming. New York Times loves that one because it runs the hottest on the web, so they can guarantee they can get a hot reading off of that. And, these temperatures vary as much as 2 degrees Celsius on the data sets between University of Alabama Huntsville and also Climate Reanalyzer. That's ridiculous that you have this much of a difference between the satellite data sets. So UAH runs, I wouldn't say the coldest, but it's right along there with RSS, somewhere in there. And these are always cooler than the Reanalyzer site that the mainstream media, corporate media loves to use. So the whole thing was that they were trying to discredit this, saying, well, it wasn't peer-reviewed, so you can't use that. It's not really the real temperatures. Scientists didn't look at it. The peers didn't come in and verify it. Well, you know what? It is peer-reviewed now. Version 6.0 is peer-reviewed. The algorithm's great. Everything works. And they're still trying to say, they're still trying to discredit it because it's showing cooling temperatures on our planet. Now, I agree. There's some places that are hotter. There's some places that are having hot spots on the planet, but there's other places that are cold that never get reported on. And that's the information I try to bring. 4 seasons in one weekend. Australia, summer heat to polar blast in a single day. And that's interesting how the weather is flipping like this. And we're going to start to see a lot more of this moving into, the depths of the grand solar minimum as we get further down into it. So if we go over here to icehnow.info, Robert Felix's site, one of my favorites. I always check here daily to see what he has. Edmonton, all-time record snows. And this is going to come right back to the crop harvest again, which brings me into the cryptocurrency as well. See, our economy is going to have a very difficult time continuing past, say, the next 12, 18 months maximum. I'm going to say maximum. Just because if the food prices rise, people just don't spend money in the other parts of the economy. They just spend money on food, and that's it.
And this episode's brought to you by TrueLeafMarket.com. Heirloom and organic seeds since 1974. Full range of garden seeds, microgreen seeds, sprouting seeds, wheatgrass, grain seeds, flower seeds, herb seeds, and ground cover crop. I encourage you to take a look at the website, trueleafmarket.com, and they even have free starter guides there for you to learn how to grow sprouts, microgreens, herbs, and wheatgrass. Use the link below and give yourself the gift of organic and heirloom seeds.
Money still is made and money is still spent, but it's all just diverted over into one little tiny sector, food. Now, if the economy is not functioning and you have a secondary alternative to try to store some of your wealth, and you can throw a few bucks over on this thing over here called crypto, that's going to probably go up as more people put more money in it to try to get more safety. People might run to precious metals. Maybe. We saw that in the past. But now there's a much faster, much quicker, much easier alternative that's not so heavy that you can take anywhere on the planet. And as long as you got this little tiny thing the size of a memory stick, you can load all your cash in that thing. And it's ultra secure on a hardware wallet. Nobody's going to be able to get into it unless you give them either the password or if they're going to find your private key. All right. But traveling around the planet with this little thing the size of a memory stick with your entire bank account in there versus, trying to lug around 3 kilos of gold, that's a huge difference. You're not going to get through an airport with a kilo or 2 of gold on your back. Economy starts to decrease because food prices start to increase. People start to shift their wealth in different places. Younger generation, they don't believe in banks at all. They don't trust them. They've seen nothing but trouble from the institutional banking system since they've been alive. Where do you think they're going to put their money? Especially if the economy starts to go down again. I mean, they're not going to live through it again and go 2.0. I love it. Hey, everybody jump for joy. They're going to start to move their money into crypto assets. What I have seen is this massive move up in Ripple. Now, this is the banker's coin here. So what are they sending as a signal to the rest of the planet? And this is the second time it's happened this week. Second time that Ripple's run up. This is the second time. So what's going on with the signaling here of the banker's coin skyrocketing twice in a week? Now remember, 3 is a numerologically, say, valuable number, if you will, 3, 6, and 9. So if we see it for the third time, that is a signal to somebody else out there on the greater markets. 3 is a charm, and 3 times a banker coin running up is definitely a signal. There's been a lot of conjecture on when this next bull run is going to begin. This is not a financial advice. I'm just talking about crypto and what I'm thinking about in my own opinion. It's not financial advice, not meant to be, nor should it be. I'm just talking about something that I see in the future. You got to do your own research. Don't even listen to me. Do your own research. The whole thing was if Bitcoin broke below 5,500, that it was going to continue down to like 2,000 or something, and then it's hit that bottom, and once it held resistance there, it was supposed to hold. This should be the beginning of the new bull run. So I've been told. So I've read. So I've heard like 1,000 videos say the same thing. Now you have to realize it's January 1st, some of the laws are being passed where fund managers are going to be able to allocate 2% of their portfolio into cryptocurrency, because a lot of people have been demanding that they get their retirement funds and at least some of the funds under management put into cryptocurrency so they could scrape some of the gains that were happening globally. This was demanded by some of the holders in the funds. So I'm over here on CoinDesk.com if you're going to follow along as I'm chatting out these next 15 minutes, bring us to the end of the broadcast here tonight. Now, the SEC, that's our Securities and Exchange Commission, they have been the number one stumbling block for anything moving forward in crypto. Word is on the street that JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, etc., have been pushing the SEC to limit what can happen with ICOs and movement in crypto while they're waiting to consolidate cheaper prices behind the scenes. They've been trying to suppress the price because on January 1st, they're able to come in with some institutional money on January 1st. So they have been lobbying, is that a correct word to use, politely, the SEC to limit movement in any type of instruments in crypto. SEC moves to make decision on VanEck, SolidX, Bitcoin ETF proposal. Now, if you don't know what that means, ETF is the exchange traded fund where everything about it is Bitcoin, Bitcoin related. It's Bitcoin futures, Bitcoin in terms of, like, if there's no better word of a physical Bitcoin. I know there's no such thing, but one in a hard wallet is yours. Plus the Bitcoin futures, both minis and 5 lots, and everything's based around the price of what's going with the mining, and they had all these other things, just like a regular ETF. If you have a corn ETF, it's about the corn producers, the farmers, the storage facilities, the silos, and everything in between, even up to, like General Mills and all these cereal makers. So they have stocks in all these companies. So if one falls, the rest won't really push the price too much in the ETF. They can substitute it out and take a minimal loss, but still retain the overall amount of the portfolio generally. There's a couple companies that have been wanting to do this with Bitcoin in terms of mining rigs, mining companies, and all this other things related to the Bitcoin futures. And like I said, the physicals, if you will. SEC has been saying, no way, can't do that, can't touch it. But I really believe the SEC is have these like little puppet strings above them with the really big institutional banks making the SEC move and make everything illegal, make everything move in super slow molasses motion, while they behind the scenes are consolidating all the crypto. So when it hits and the institutional money flows in, we're talking about trillions, plural, market cap. And anything you're holding out there that's a penny now is going to be dollars. Just like we saw in this last run-up. Coming down in another one of the headlines here that goes right along with what the SEC was doing. They're trying to finally put some ruling on the ETF. Now you got to realize, if they say that ETF is a go, oh my gosh, just on that word alone, the market's going to spike just because the American government gave authorization and okay, go ahead for institutional money to jump into Bitcoin. And then now we have a second headline right here. U.S. lawmakers strongly urge the IRS to update crypto tax guidance, which means IRS make a law so it can get taxed, and then we're off to the races. Now notice how they are doing it now. So when it comes up to April 15th of next year, the laws will have been updated and you will be required to pay tax. Because right now it's in a gray area. You know how these taxes are going to be calculated. So think about that. Now, how coincidental is these two things dovetailing at the exact same time when it's been suppressed for so long, and then suddenly these two articles coming out and the gains in the Ripple coin, the banker's coin, Ripple, three things in the same time, all revolving around institutional money. I can't believe that's a coincidence. I really can't. Statistically, almost an impossibility. Now, one sad thing, and for me personally, is Enigma is delaying their release of the Discovery Protocol. That would allow you to do secret contracts and initiate secret contracts. Actually, they're smart contracts that are done in a secret way. So secret contracts are a new form of a smart contract that is non-traceable. Now, if you're using Monero and you're going to be doing a secret contract using Monero as your exchange on the Enigma platform, you're absolutely untraceable. Now, think about that with food being really expensive in the future. You're not going to let people know how much food holding you have, what you're trading with food, what you're buying with food. When food's incredibly expensive and it's like people are looting stores for food, would you want people to know that you have 100 tons of wheat stored somewhere, that you bought 100 tons of wheat? Of course not. You're going to want to be as secret and quiet as a church mouse you can be about your food holdings. This was going to be one of the ways that would allow that. You got the privacy coins mixed in with the secret contracts. This is the future. This is my opinion, though. This is where it's going. The protocol roadmap needs to be. But anyway, you can see things are moving. Economy's slipping. It's fictitious at the moment. But as we move forward, crypto is going to be used more and more. So, I just encourage you to even learn about it. This is from an educational aspect. Just to go ahead and learn what it is. It's going to be used in the future. Just like if I would have been sitting here talking to you saying, you know what, you might want to learn about this internet thing. You might want to learn what a computer is. We're going to be using these things in the future, and there's this new website stuff coming out, and people are probably going to buy and sell stuff on these websites. You might want to learn how to, what e-commerce is, something like this. It's nothing more than that, like we would be sitting in the early 1990s talking about the internet at the moment. Same thing. So I encourage you just to at least dive in to understand what the tech is, how it's working, because it is going to be an integral part of your life as we move forward. Like all these changes are here. They're intensifying, and you have a lot of knowledge. There's so many people out there talking about these issues at the moment. So There's really not an excuse for you to lay back and say, well, I don't know about it. I'm too old to learn. I'm not good at learning new stuff. Well, you know what you're going to have to be. You're going to have to be adaptable during these times of change. That's going to be a great strength for you, to be able to be adaptable. See the signs around you. Know that things are changing. It's always going to change. If you flow with it instead of fighting it, it's going to be way easier as well. And if you know why these things are happening, it's going to be even double easier because you're not coming from fear. There's just so many positives to knowing what's going to happen. There'll be a few negatives. But people are going to start to look at you because you have some knowledge about this. So anyway, I encourage you to go through the week, do a little research. Talk to some farmers if you have a chance. Dig through your own local news. See where there's frost or some kind of unusual, strange weather. I do thank you for your time. My name is David DuByne, the host of Mini Ice Age Conversations here on Studio A, Revolution Radio, 10 p.m. to midnight, Studio A.
This video is brought to you by our friends at TrueLeafMarket.com. Heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on our planet.